Good evening and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Pack Homer Podcast. Me and my buddies Adam and Wes here, and we got a special guest tonight, Brandon Butterworth, shortstop for the former College World Series team. Thanks for joining us, Brandon. Or Butt, we're just going to call you Butters.
There you go. That's a good, I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Nah, glad to have you. So, Butters is out in Scottsdale, Arizona now, is that right?
Yes, sir. Peoria, but in Scottsdale, yeah.
How's the weather out there right now? Is it a little better than here? It's been so dang cold here this week.
Yeah, it's a lot better. I was just on the phone with my mom. She's telling me about it, but it's about 65, 70 here during the day.
So we got a lot of questions for you, but I wanted to start. So I think you got an interesting story, Butters. You were, and I don't even know if you've ever looked at this, but I looked it up for you. You were like a 179th ranked prospect in North Carolina as a senior in high school. I think I read that you walked on at Western Carolina, ended up being an everyday guy, of course, and being a really good player for the Catamounts, and then became really a critical part of our College World Series team at NC State last year. And I kind of wanted to ask you about your journey. How does a kid that, I guess you were, did you even originally commit to Western Carolina? I think I had read that you had committed somewhere else. So just kind of fill us in on the story of how you got to Western Carolina and then to NC State.
Yeah, so I mean, I can just start basically from my freshman year. I was always like the smaller guy, the underlooked guy, the overlooked guy, the kid who never got offers, the kid who never got looked at. So it was just kind of my first school that really looked at me was North Carolina Central. They liked me a lot. They saw me play. Their coaching staff kind of had the similar stories. Their infield coach and their head coach, same to me. When they played, they were, smaller guys. So, of course, they kind of looked at me as, somebody who could grow into my body with the skill set that I had. And they liked me a lot. And it was my only offer at the time. I was talking to Lenore Ryan. And other than that, that was pretty much it. And they offered me a preferred walk-on. That's all I had. And I ended up committed there, I believe, August 26th. My junior year, or basically the start of my senior year. And so I thought that's pretty much how it was going to go. Went through the whole fall, went through the whole winter, just working on, going to North Carolina Central. And then I got a call, I believe it was February 16th of my senior year. And the head coach called me pretty much in tears. And it was after COVID happened and everything. And he pretty much told me that, listen, this program's not a thing anymore. This program is getting canceled due to the money that they don't have. And I was kind of sitting there in shock. I was actually sick from school that day. So I was answering in my bed. And I kind of just sat there speechless. I honestly had no idea what to do. And he hung up the phone and he told me, he said, listen, if you have any recommendations, any school you want to go to, I will write them anything that you want me to write them about. And, I said, I appreciate it. And ever since then, it was just more of good luck with everything. And that was it. And that school pretty much took my offer away because, like I said, they had no more baseball program. They offered me, they gave me the opportunity to go to the school if I wanted to go to the school, of course. But I wanted to go play baseball, so I was kind of left there. Like I said, February of my senior year, they were starting to recruit sophomores at that point. So I was reaching out to D2s, D3s, and JUCOs, and I had a lot of calls about, basically they had no more room left on their team at the time and had no more, scholarship money and anything. So I was pretty much stranded. And I got a call from Western Carolina. I went to a camp there my freshman year, and they liked me a lot, but it was more of a, we like you, but you're just too small for us. That's pretty much how it was my freshman year. And I understood it. I was probably 5 foot, 95 pounds my freshman year. So I don't blame them. But they called me and was like, listen, I heard what happened. We saw, we talked to your coach and staff. We know what happened, but at the same time, we like what we see in you. We don't have any money. We don't have any spots. We can pretty much offer you pretty much like a tryout, pretty much like a walk-on, almost like a tryout. And I don't think he even got the rest of that conversation out, the rest of that sentence out before I was like, I'm coming. And that's pretty much how that started. So I went to Western Carolina my freshman year, and ever since then it's kind of taken its course.
Man, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
So I guess you've been told you're undersized your whole life, right?
Yeah, I still do to this day.
I mean, you were did you play more second base or shortstop at Western?
I played second base both years. I played, I believe, 30 games, I want to say, my freshman year. all second base. I think I played one at short, and then I think sophomore year I started 52 out of the 54 games, and I think I played one at short.
So you go from an undersized guy who gets a chance, take absolute advantage of it, and how do you end up at NC State? How do you go from a walk on at Western Carolina to a starting shortstop for a College World Series team in the ACC? That's a hell of a jump.
Yeah, it was so my sophomore year is kind of when I made the jump. Like you guys said, I played really well that year. I made a lot of jumps body wise, mentally, physically, playing wise, skill set wise. And my best friend, who actually plays for the Astros organization now, Paz, who was Pascal Ferreras, who was the shortstop at Western Carolina at the time, he pretty much told me after our conference tournament when we were going home, was like, listen, like next year's your year. You're the shortstop for the Catamounts, and that's your year. Like it's your time to show yourself and get drafted, of course. And so I left that school that summer, pretty much thinking I was going to be the guy going back to Western. And I would talk to that coaching staff a lot. I would give them updates on how my summer ball was going. And throughout this 2.5 weeks of my summer ball, I played in the NECBL, the New England Collegiate League, for the Vermont Mountaineers, and I was hitting probably 430, 440. I was having a really good start to the year, and I had a couple ACC guys, a couple SEC guys on the team, and they asked me, they're like, "Hey, you staying at Western?" And my answer was always, "Yeah, of course." Like I've never had any thoughts of leaving. And one of my good buddies now, TJ Williams, who plays center field for Notre Dame, he told me, he said, dude, I'm keeping it honest with you. If you went to Notre Dame, you would start at shortstop on opening day, no questions asked. And that kind of got me in my head, like, damn, for real, like, because I've always looked at myself as a good player, but for me, like, there was always like levels to this. Of course, like you had the ACC and the SEC as like the top dogs, and then you had the SoCon, which is still a good league, but anytime that the SoCon we played the ACC and midweek games, it was tough for us. Of course, we had a smaller skill set, we had less money to give players, so of course, the big guys would go to the Power Five schools. So I always looked at myself as a really good SoCon player, and thinking that I could play in the ACC was just so far fetched for me because of my high school, the way I grew up in high school. I was always told that I would make it in college, so I kind of still had that. It was like, damn, the ACC is this far away from me, and I kept getting told that. I kept getting told by other players from other teams. Like I met pretty good friends from other teams. We got to hang out a lot when we went to travel there, and they would tell me, dude, like you should think about it. So I was kind of like, damn, like it's honestly a good thing. I searched it up. I looked at all the rosters. I probably looked at 60 schools on all their rosters and how like they infield coordinated and all that. And I finally made the decision. I took it well with my mom. I probably talked to her probably 100 times throughout that week about, I want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to do it. I don't want to do it. And then it came to the decision where I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make, this is what I want to do my whole life. So I'm going to make the stride to put me in the best position that I can, of course. So I called the coaching staff. They didn't take it well at all. They kind of took it, I would say, not in the most professional way, which I felt honestly disrespected in my part, just because I felt at Western I was a guy who, as a sophomore, was a leader. I had a good voice on the team. I was a good teammate. I was a really good person. So I feel like the way they took it was just not the way that I agreed with. But it's I would never say anything bad about them. So yeah, I took that. And then I was kind of like after that conversation, I kind of honestly broke down in tears just because I was so upset at the way that that was handled and everything. So the immediate thought that I took was like, damn, I just kind of messed up. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, I don't have anything to fall back on, which of course I wouldn't have if I actually went through entering the transfer portal with an open mindset, which of course I ended up doing. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm doing it. Um, I was kind of in that mindset of, screw everyone, not like literally, but, it's kind of like it's me versus everybody now, just like it was in high school. I had to show myself again. And it's funny, my name entered the transfer portal on a Monday, and Chris Hart called me at 8:15. When I entered it at 8 o'clock in the morning, he woke me up before our game, and he was like, "Hey, I see your name's in the transfer portal," and I was kind of like, who's this? Like, hello, how you doing? And he was like, I'm still kind of waking up, honestly. And he called me and told me who he was and told me everything. And I was like I said, same thing. I don't think he got the sentence out that we want to offer you. And I was like, I'm coming. Which at the time I had to, he told me, he said, whoa, 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 like you can think about this for a week or so and then call me back. I said, Hart, I don't need any thought process. I've loved NC State ever since I was a kid. I used to watch Trey Turner, and yeah, I ended up committing about an hour and a half later. After that, I called my mom and I broke down in tears. She started crying too, and it was just more of like a relief, just because, like I said, just thinking so highly of the ACC, and being able to finally say that I've made it to that point. It was a big goal of mine, and that's something that I take, I'd say a lot of respect in, and a lot of pride, and a lot of like gratefulness towards that program. Heart for thinking about me, believing in me, because there was other SEC guys, ACC guys on the portal who played the same position I did, and him looking at me as a player who can make an impact was just something that I always be thankful for. So that happened, and I ended up committing to NC State, and then I saw my name pop up in the papers like 6 or 7 times, and I was like, wow, this is for real. Like, it's time to get to work now.
Man, that's a hell of a story. Like,
That's
I can't
that's really
imagine.
cool.
Like, you probably have. I know you got a chip on your shoulder. I mean, to be
Oh,
a
of course.
to be a guy who you've been told you're undersized your whole life. You're going to Central, and then that falls through for you. Then you're at Western Carolina. I think I guess one question I'd have, and I think this is what within the portal era people don't understand. Obviously, NC State was a hell of an opportunity for you to go play in the ACC and prove that you could play on that stage every day. Um, but also, I got to feel like Western Carolina. Probably, if you go to NC State out of high school, it's probably easy to get lost in the shuffle. If you're a guy that's undersized, you're coming in, you're trying to compete. I think you played in like 20 games as a freshman at Western. Like, do you think? I mean, for you, I almost feel like going to Western first. Not that we're like at NC State, we're all high and mighty, and we're going to say, oh, the Colonial or the SoCon or whatever is like a JUCO jump for you. But do you think that without going to Western first, like how do you think it turns out if you're at State first? Do you think you get disgruntled and then you end up at a Division II school or a smaller Division I, or do you think going to Western Carolina first was the right thing for you?
Yeah, so I look at it in two ways, and they're two positive ways. I think the first one was, I think Western was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I met lifelong best friends that I still talk to this day, every single day. And I think it also taught me how to compete for myself because, like I said, when I showed up to Western Carolina, even at the smaller school, I was the guy who was not looked at, not recruited by them. The players didn't know who I was just because I committed so late. They've been committed for years, and so I feel like, me coming in undersized, like it made me work, especially because like I've had a lot of guys ahead of me at my position, so it made me work. But the guys ahead of me in my position, they knew how to coach me in a good way, which is something that I, you know, respect as well because they were fifth year seniors and 6 year seniors who I still talk to now. Like I went to one of the 6 year seniors, I FaceTime him and talked to their his high school baseball team. And so they look up to me now basically, and I look up to them. So it's a mutual friendship that I respect. But at the same time, I look at it in a funny way because Avent told me actually as I was leaving, he was like, "Man, I wish we had you for 3 years." And I said, Avent, if you saw me my senior year of high school, you would have laughed and walked before the first pitch was thrown. And he was like, "No, no, I would have never done that, Butters. I would never do that." I said, Avent, like I'm being genuinely honest with you. Like if you saw me my freshman or my in high school, you would have been like, why am I even here looking at this kid? And I take pride in that just because I've come so far from that. And of course, I look at it as like it'd be awesome to go to NC State for 3 years. I loved it there. It was the most fun I've ever had playing baseball. It was the most fun I've ever had going to school. But at the same time, I think Western was. The way I look at it is a step that was needed in my process, just because I needed to learn how to mature, put weight on, use the skill set that I use. I had an amazing coach, Coach Miranda, who coached in the ACC, he coached for Wake Forest, he coached for all these, Georgia Tech, and I still talk to him to this day, and he taught me a lot of things, which is good because I feel like I needed that to jump to the next level to the ACC.
So your transformation, what would you say the biggest part of it is? I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of things that maybe people who don't follow baseball closely, maybe don't realize. Like, obviously, you had the tools to be a good defender in the ACC already. You had the tools. Not everybody can hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. You were obviously able to do that. But the transformation of your body, I mean, do you think that was a weight room thing? Was it just growing into your body? I mean, I feel like probably a lot of both.
Yeah, I think it definitely is both, but I feel like the main thing is mental. So we can talk about my body. I put on probably 10 pounds throughout that summer just alone, and then I also grew an inch and a half from my sophomore year to my junior year of college, which is, something that's not heard of, and even I was surprised by it. So I actually ended up growing, which helped me a lot, of course, but at the same time, I feel like whether I was 5'6" or 6'6", you got to come into the room thinking that you're the guy, no matter what, with a confidence, not a cocky way, you just have confidence in yourself. And I feel like that helped me translate to being a leader, even though I was technically a new guy. And that was a good thing that the players welcomed me in with open arms. Like I said, these are my best friends now, and me showing up to the field, not being timid, not being skittish of me not knowing if I'm going to win a job, not knowing if I'm going to fit in, not knowing if I'm going to play well in the ACC. I showed up basically, knowing that I can be a guy and, I can make an impact to this team. And I think that's something that the players and the coaches all respected, which is something that helped me a lot. So I would definitely say the mental side was definitely the 95% of it.
All right, Adam and Wes, cut me off. Not, I'll keep going.
No,
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
be quiet.
go ahead,
Go
Adam.
ahead. No, you're up, Wes. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, your Butters, your story is inspirational, right? You know, what is your advice for another high school kid that's out there now that's maybe been uh, overlooked in the recruiting process, and now maybe more so than ever with the portal. High school kids, it's really tough for them to get a shot. At some of the top programs just based on the portal. Man, who wants an 18-year-old kid when you can get a 22-year-old shortstop or center fielder? So, I mean, what is your advice to the high school senior going into the spring this year that's been overlooked? What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, so I actually go to a lot of high school practices. That's something I like to do back at home. I like talking to kids that are like a little bit younger than me, but going through the same thing that I had. And my biggest thing is to tell them like that should make you want it even more. Like that should make you want to go up there. You're the undersized kid who's not getting looks fat from anybody, but you got a power five commit on the mound that you're facing that day with five scouts in the stands. Like that should make you like be like, all right, let's go. Like it's me versus you. Like even though you're undersized, like that don't mean nothing other than a physical limitation. But at the same time, like baseball, I feel like is a sport where physical limitation is only so little. Like in football, like I don't think I'd compete in the NFL right now. No way. But I can sit here and say I can compete. I can compete in professional baseball just because like I said, physical limitation is different. Of course, you need to be a certain body, which of course I've grown. I've put on about 15 pounds just since being here, which I just needed to do. But at the same time, it's just more, your mental limitations of being able to say like, it's me versus you. Like it's time to go. It's time to get after it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to let you beat me. So
yeah, I think sometimes whether we're talking about football or baseball, I don't really like talking about basketball. So I mean, sometimes we get carried away with the stars or top 200, and a lot of kids just need an opportunity, and all you needed was an opportunity, and as soon as you had that opportunity, you took advantage of it, and it was a awesome experience to watch what you did with that opportunity.
and I think I still take pride in it to this day. Like, it's even guys now who, well, I was a 12th round pick, and I see guys who I'm playing against who are, first, second, third, fourth round, fifth round, and it's nothing against them. They're great guys. They're great players. Like that's awesome for them. But at the same time, I look at it as it's like it don't matter what round you're drafted in. It don't matter how hard you throw. It don't matter how much you sign for. It don't matter any of that. At the end of the day, like I said, it's me versus you, and it's I'm not gonna let you go down without a fight.
Absolutely.
Since you brought it up, Brandon, I was gonna I was gonna ask you something else, but since you brought up the draft, um, what was based on the feedback that you were getting and that sort of thing, did you I know you ended up in the Padres organization, but was that someone that you had been talking to, or that someone had a relationship with, or I was just curious about that standpoint from them taking you there.
Yeah, so in the fall at NC State, we have a lot of like all of our practices are open practices to scouts. So we had a lot of scouts come out to the fall, and I think I put a name for myself during the fall. I had a really good fall, so a lot of teams, were looking at me. I had a lot of meetings, and it was more just getting to know me because they didn't know who I was at Western Carolina. they had no idea who I was. So it was more of like a, hey, who is this kid now? Like, we like you, we want to know what you're about, but at the same time, we haven't seen you play on an elite stage at an elite level, of course, because I haven't played, in ACC. So the Padres liked me a lot. Jake, who is the area scout, he's a really good dude. I talk to him almost every day, and him from the start was, hey, we like you a lot. Like, you're what our like organization is about. Just grit and just hard work, and so we like that a lot. And so throughout the year, I had a lot of teams reach out to me. I had a lot of teams say that they liked me, but the Padres were always, on top of that threshold. I'd say they always said a little bit more. They always were interested a little bit more. They were calling Hart, Bo Rob every day about me. So I feel like that was kind of set in stone that they liked me a lot. It wasn't set in stone that they were going to pick me, but it definitely was set in stone that they liked me a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool that you never know, like those relationships that you start right during, like you talk about during fall, um and how much that can mean as they're watching you progress through the season, and a lot of it is too, like you talked about
Of
some of
course.
the physical attributes and the stats, and obviously all those things are important, but I think, anymore, especially at that level, and the amount of money involved these days, or what's at stake. A lot of it is they want to pick good people, right? Like people with the right character and work ethic and that sort of thing. So I think that says a lot about you as well.
I appreciate that. I feel like that's also a big thing that I take pride in, is just being a good guy. It's helped a lot.
So, Butters, let's jump into last season. The first thing I want to ask you about that, we're going to remember you for forever. What does it feel like?
I will say this. Let me say this. So today is actually my dad's birthday. I said this before on the pod that
Happy birthday to him.
my dad's the reason that I like NC State, and I'm a big NC State fan. I lost my dad last May, but I was looking back today at the text messages from my dad, just kind of remembering, just kind of reminiscing about things. And Butters, the last text that I sent my dad was about your home run on April 18th, 2024. That night, and then the next day he responded back, and then after that he was in the hospital, and things went downhill for him. But that was the last NC State thing we talked about. So we talked about the fact he responded back. He said that young man turned on a 2-1 mile an hour fastball. So yeah,
That's
that was
awesome. Like I said,
awesome.
I'm very sorry for your loss, but that's definitely
Yeah,
probably the coolest thing that I've heard from that moment happening.
yeah. Well, my question was going to be about, that's obviously an awesome moment, goes down and Wolfpack lore, right? I mean, Thursday night game versus a rival to get the win to start off that series. What? So obviously that was a big moment for us. Is there anything that's a close second to? I mean, I'm gonna imagine that you've got to put that up at the top of your list. But if not, what's at the top of the list, or
Of
what would be the
course.
next closest?
I'm gonna say there's a lot of moments that happened this year where I could put at second. But I'd say that, like, honestly, like, adding just a little bit of baseball into it, I'd say winning the Super was definitely second. Just, like, thinking, like, seeing that all happen, the play go down to center field with Eli bumping his fist as he catches it. And it's funny, there's only one camera angle looking behind me straight to Eli, and it's actually pretty cool. I'm like, I have my hands up like this, and it's as Eli's catching it. And all I remember is just like, wow, we're going to Omaha. And then I turn around and see the entire dugout. I even saw Avents running out, and I was like I'm about to dogpile for the first time and ever. I've never dogpiled ever, and I see everybody running out, and I see Matt, Amac, and just like 5 teammates just run at me and give me the biggest hug ever. And I think that's probably the second coolest thing that's ever happened.
So last year,
Awesome.
talking about that team, Butters, I mean, all year long, like, we were like, and I think early in the year we were a little bit worried about pitching, and then we kind of went through some slumps where we didn't really swing it as good as we could. But we knew that if we could start stringing together ACC series wins as good as our league was last year, that we were going to have the opportunity to host a regional. And then obviously us guys, being Pack homers, we felt like if we could get in a regional with the starting pitching we had and the bullpen, which just really became a strength of our team. And then some thumpers in the lineup, of course, too. I know everybody talks about AMAC and Penny a lot, but obviously, Eli, a guy, he hit the walk off against Duke, and then Kozar had, he still hit. I think he hit 18 or 19 home runs last year. So it had some guys up and down our lineup. It was kind of I'd say not a traditional lineup. Hell, I think we went to Florida State last year and bunted the ball like 6 times in a game, which was like maybe more than like Avon had bunted in the last 5 years. But like, when did the locker room? Was it coming out of the fall, or was there like really a point where you're like, we're good enough to go to Omaha? Like, we have the right pieces.
I think so. It was always in the fall. For us, we had Avent put the Omaha Steakhouse that he's always talked about. Every time they go to Omaha, they go to the certain steakhouse, and he put up the menu for that steakhouse early, and it was like kind of invested in our brain that like no matter what, this is our like we're here to go to Omaha. Like we don't care if somebody hits 500. We don't care if somebody goes first overall. We don't care if this happens, this happens. Like if we don't get to Omaha, it's like in our minds it should be a failure. Which of course we wanted, personal success. We wanted success for other teammates, but at the same time, as a team, we wanted success to go to Omaha. And we felt we had I feel like when we knew we had the skill set to do it was when we played Duke in the fall. I think, just watching us all come together for the first time after only knowing each other for about 2 months, come together for the first time and seeing like that, really go down. It was like, all right, like we can do this. Like it's a good team, but we just have to keep, putting our head down, getting to work. And the season started. We had a good first couple weeks. I think we started off the year going. I think 10-2 maybe. 11-2, 12-2, and then we got to ACC play. We played Boston College. Really good weekend against them too. And I think it's when we went to Georgia Tech. We struggled against Georgia Tech. We got swept there. And even Avon still, after that, he was like, all right, we're fine. We're fine. We're not gonna stress about it. We can't change it. It's over. Only thing we can do is get better now. And when we finally had a talk was after we lost to ECU the second time at home. And I remember like we were all just sitting there kind of distraught, like just kind of like thinking like, damn, like we just, like what's happening to us? We're falling apart. And he sat back and, Avon's always like, he's a tough coach, which is something I respect. He's a really tough coach. After losses, he doesn't want to talk to us. After losses, he's upset just as we all are. But I think it was the first time that after a loss, he's sat us down, looked us all in the face and was like, like we're okay. Like we're okay. We got to sit here and like accept, like, kind of process what's going on and realize, the problems and realize the strengths and go after the strengths more. And after that ECU loss, I think we all were kind of like, we don't want to feel that feeling again because there's so many fans in the stadium. It was a big midweek for us. It was ECU. And after losing that, I think it was more of like, all right, guys, like it's time for us to get to work and it's time for us to fix the things that we need to fix. And I think after that, the last 5-6 weeks of the year, we turned into, I think a top 5 team in the country. And I can even say that from a personal side. I was struggling halfway through the year. I feel like I was struggling really bad, but I always had my head up. I always kept my head up. But it got to a point after ECU. I was more like I talked to Bo Rob, and I was like, Bo Rob, it's not a swing thing anymore. It's just me. I'm just getting down on myself. And I was talking to Eli, I was talking to Garrett, and it got to the point where I was saying this before, like it's going to get to a point where we just got to compete no matter what happens. If we go 0-4, but we win a game, like we're in a good mood. We can't be worrying about self stats anymore. And, from that point on to the end of Omaha, I think I had the best stretch of baseball I've ever played in my life. And I can't remember the last time I looked at the scoreboard during that year and was like, damn, my average just went down, or damn, my average just went up. Like I didn't think about that. And I think that's why we played so well, is because we actually came together as a team and, actually decided that main goal was Omaha and we were going to do anything, to get there.
What's it like having a guy like Coach Avian? I know we talked to AMAC a couple weeks ago, and we talked about, I know he gives Coach Hart and Bo Rob a ton of credit for, his development as a hitter. He turned into a guy that was, upper two. He's a 280 hitter. He'd been in college a long time, and then hell, had one of the best offensive years in NC State history. And he gave a lot of credit to Bo Rob and to Coach Hart, but also a lot of credit to Coach Avian. But what is it like having that steadying voice in the locker room. You just mentioned that, Coach Avian a lot of times after losses maybe didn't have a whole lot to say. But also you got to, a guy that's been around that long, you kind of trust him to press the right buttons. What is it like, playing for a guy that's got 1,000 wins and has kind of seen it all, been to Omaha. He knows the menu at the steakhouse.
Yeah. It's something that I've never experienced before. Like I said, my freshman year, I had Coach Miranda, who was a very good coach and, a coach in college baseball that everybody knows and everybody respects. But it's way different. Him and Miranda, Avon and Miranda are actually really good friends, which is I think is something that's kind of funny because they both text me about each other. But they're very different coaches, and going through the fall, I definitely feel like I had to work on some stuff mentally, just to get me to the point where I was, like I said earlier, like I was so strong that no matter success or failure, I was still the same player, the same person on the field. And he instilled that in me. He did. He got on my ass a lot, and then got to a point where I'd go up to Hardo Borob and I'd be like, damn, what am I doing wrong? Like I'm at a point where like he's on my ass. And it was a lot of times like, of course, me looking back at it, I don't think about this now, but before I'm like, why is he only coming at me? Like, why is he only getting upset at me? Why is he not saying something to somebody else? Which, of course, I didn't want him to, get on everybody else's ass because I feel like, that'd just be a bad teammate for me. But at the same time, going through it, I'm like, damn, like he's just getting in and like he's drilling me right now. And it got to a point where he started to settle down as if I was, getting better at the stuff that I need to work on. And throughout the season, I looked at him more as like almost a father figure. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, because I had some struggles going through the year mentally, with stuff outside of baseball, and he helped me a lot with that. And having a coach like him, that at the start was very hard on me. I got a really tough relationship with him, and I think that built that trust with me and him, so much stronger and so much more connected because we were, that type of person to coach, player to coach type of relationship. And it got to a point now where, like I said, if I ever have problems, if I ever have a question to ask about life, I call him. He's one of the first people I call, and I love that man to death.
That's awesome. I want to go back real quick I forgot to ask you earlier. So, like, how long did it take you to like hate Carolina? Did you hate them growing up? Because like we hate them. And you said you were a state fan. Like how you got to flip the bat against them? That is like pretty damn awesome. Like, did you
Yeah,
develop to hate a little more at state? Was that in the curriculum?
of course, of course. I would say, like, because growing up, I was an NC State fan because of Trey Turner, but I had a lot of players that I liked on Carolina as well. They had a player named Sky Bolt, who I thought
Oh
was the
yeah.
coolest name in American history. I thought that was the coolest person ever when I was younger. So I liked players on Duke, I liked players on Clemson. I was just an open fan when I was younger, just because I liked watching college baseball. But as I got to NC State, it was definitely instilled quick. My best friend plays wide receiver at Chapel Hill. And I reposted a story of him, at practice wearing, he was at Chapel Hill, of course, so he's wearing his jersey. And I think Eli slid up on my story maybe 5 minutes later and was like, "You better delete this." And I said, "Bro, he's my best friend." And he was like, "No, you just don't understand. Like, you better delete this." And I was like, "Okay, I got you." And going to the football games before, going to the basketball games, and seeing the rivalry with the teams and then the fans itself, that kind of instilled that you know we're meant to hate Carolina, which now I understand it. And watching them show up to the field, they showed up with pride, and that's something that I respect in them because they showed up like they're the best team in the country. Like I feel like any team should. But that made me, watching them do it to us, watching them walk on our field like that, that made me be like, all right, like it's time to like you guys are you're not getting away with this easy. And I can't tell you, I can't remember me walking up to the box and hitting that home run. I can't. It feels like I blacked out. All I remember is me hitting second base. And once I like hit, I was like halfway around second, the light just turned red, and I was like, wow, like that just happened. And I look back at the video now, and me bat flipping, and that was just all instinct. I think that's, like I said, the coolest moment that's ever happened in my baseball career.
Well, man, you flipped the bat. I was like, damn, son, a guy 160 pounds hit one that good. Like, I knew he must have known he hit it good.
Yeah, and that's funny because I've hit some balls pretty far in my life, and I've hit some balls pretty hard in my life. But I don't think I've ever hit a ball and instantly knew it was gone. Instant, like I mean that I don't even think I got done with my swing before I was turning around at our dugout.
That's awesome.
What a moment, no doubt.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's definitely the best moment. And then seeing, the people, that's something that's not talked about, of course. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but the next day on Saturday when I came up for my first at bat, I got a standing ovation, which is that's pretty cool.
And that was a hell of a game too. That was the game we scored 3 in the bottom
Yeah,
of the 8th, right? Yeah.
yeah. I singled up the middle. Um, I singled up the middle to score AMAC. Kozar ended up scoring. Then Luke scored, and then I scored, the go ahead run.
Always good.
Yeah.
God, I love beating those dudes.
And it's funny, like this is something that I think I only told Avon. After that series, after we lost on Sunday, which is, I feel like we could have took advantage of taking that sweep, but you can't change it now. But that's definitely, I feel like we kind of let go of the gas a little bit that game, and Avon said the same thing to us. But after that series, their head coach came up to me and shook my hand and gave me a hug and said, "I love the way you play. Like you're a hell of a ball player. Like I'm gonna keep up with you. I'm gonna keep in touch." And it's funny because I went to my sophomore year, I went to a UNC camp. And I remember him shaking my hand, and I don't even think he looked me in the eye. And I think it was just more of like yeah, thanks for paying me $400 to come to this camp. So nobody really knows that. Yeah, yep. Nobody really knows that, but that kind of instilled that like I'm about to have a good week here just because I got something to prove.
Now all a million listeners of Pack Homer know. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're up to like
yeah. I haven't told a lot of people about that.
well,
That's cool.
1.2 million people are going to know about lunch tomorrow. No, um, so let's talk about a little bit about this year's team, Butters.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
You've played with a lot of these guys. That the pitching staff, I think, is what everyone is, really, touting in the preseason. D1 baseball, I think, just named Jacob Duden a preseason All American. There's a lot of hype around D-Rock, of course, and Dom and Matt Willitson and Cooper Consiglia, Ryan Marone. Um, you know, well, how much do you know about this team, and what are your kind of thoughts on it? I mean, I feel like this team, if we hit the baseball, which Coach Hart seems, or Coach Hart coach lineups tend to always hit the baseball. You feel like, man, we got a shot to make it back to Omaha. What do you know about this team,
Yep.
and kind of what are you kind of looking forward to? What do you think is going to be the keys to this team? Maybe making a run this year. Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It says
It'll.
We're in the weeds now. Hey, he's back.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah, he's back.
What's up, Butter?
all right. There you go. Let me see.
We're glad we got
All
you
right.
back. We were talking about Adam's wife and
It's a chicken show. We got a chicken show in Atlanta tomorrow. So
Let me see. There you go. You guys can see me now?
no, we got you.
Yep,
You turned
we got you.
sideways, but it's all right. Don't worry
Oh,
about
I
it.
am?
I think it'll. I think it just
right.
give it a second, and it'll readjust.
Yep. There.
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Leave it
See.
if you leave it that way. I think it'll.
Might. If not, I can just hold it because I'm just.
Can you hear us,
There
Butters?
you go. You guys can see me now?
One of my old football
Yeah.
coaches always say, "When you think you get hurt, Adam." So
So, Butters, we were talking about this year's roster. What do you
Yep.
think about this squad? And yep.
Yeah, so I'm actually very close with D-Rock. Derek, I feel like that's one of my closest friends right now. And I went to the game that we played Elon, and watching the pitchers do the way that do their work because I was walking around and really got to see how they work. It's going to be a special team this year on the pitching side. They got a lot of transfers, they got a lot of JUCO guys, even the freshmen. So, watching them combine with, Marone, Consiglio, Duden, D-Rock, Dom, everybody, I feel like it's going to be a hell of a year for them. And it's funny that you said, NC State always hits. Is I was talking to Hart, and I was asking him about this year and how he thinks everything's going to go. And he looks at me with kind of like a smirk. And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Butters, you know anything about NC State?" I said, "What you mean?" He goes, "They always hit." I said, "Okay, Hart, all right." So
Amen. Let's go.
I
yeah,
like
so I feel like this year's going to be special on the pitching side, which is something that it's going to be fun to watch. Just because like you said, you got Duden coming out the pen throwing 100, and then you got D-Rock with a slider that can't be touched. So as long as they get that rolling with that confidence, I feel like it's going to be untouchable.
Well, Butters, before I hope we don't lose you again, but I got some quick hitting questions for you. Um, I'm just going to go down a list, and some of them are pretty boring, but I'm gonna go pretty fast here, and we're just going to let you answer a few before we let you go. I know you got to get back to work, and the Chiefs are up 29-22 on the
There
Bills
you
with
go.
9 minutes to go, so you got to get back to that. But
I got to get back to getting on my buddies because they're Bills fans.
childhood hero,
Childhood hero, Dustin Pedroia.
Dustin Pedroia. Favorite color?
Red.
You better have said it. Favorite television show?
Friends.
Ooh. That's the easy one. I was gonna say, what sport do you like best? That one's pretty easy. What sport do you like best besides baseball?
Golf. I played golf before I played baseball, so I got to grow up enjoying that sport.
Sweet. Favorite song?
Got a couple of them. I'm gonna say any song by Gunna, and then my walk-up song last year, Linkin Park.
Favorite cereal?
Cocoa Crisp.
You're actually getting the interview my wife gives my kids every year on their birthday. Sorry, Butters. Favorite book?
Favorite book. Ooh, I'm gonna say The Seven Essential Ways to
That's
Live.
deep.
By Arnold Schwarzenegger. The Seven Essential Ways to Live. I read that recently.
If you could go anywhere on vacation, where would you go?
I got two places I can say. I'm gonna say Italy and then Cooperstown.
Oh, sweet. What is your best memory as a baseball player?
Well, of course, hitting the walk off and going to Omaha. But I'm gonna say hearing my name called on MLB Network and ESPN, like hearing all that hard work get taken care of and hearing that name, that was probably the coolest thing that's ever happened.
God, that's got to be pretty awesome. Hearing the
that
name
is so
called.
cool.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate, 100%.
Uh, if you get to have a meal with three famous people, let's say your golf foursome. You said you like golf. What would be your golf foursome,
Yeah.
Butters?
Any person ever? Any person? Let me see. I'm trying
Any
to think some.
three. I'm
Let me
gonna have
think some.
Tiger in mind, but you can have who you want.
Uh, I was thinking that. I'm gonna say Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's gotta be one of them, of course. Honestly, I'm gonna go with the duo, Kevin Hart and The Rock, and then I'm gonna end it off with. Let's see. Hey, this is a good question. I'm gonna say somebody that like honestly nobody would think. Oh, probably Paul Walker.
All right, so Kevin Hart, Paul Walker, Brandon Butterworth, and who's the fourth on the tee sheet?
The Rock.
The Rock.
Mm,
Yeah, The Rock.
he said The Rock.
Yep.
Damn, he didn't say
Yep.
Cal from the Pack Homer Pod. That's disappointing.
I should have said. I know. I should have said all three of you
I
guys.
got my.
Look
There you
at
go.
that.
Yeah. The whole point of the
All right,
setup question. I
now
should have said all
I'm
three
gonna
of
I'm
you
gonna
guys.
ask you. I'm gonna ask you a couple Wolfpack baseball questions, and I'm gonna let Adam and Wesley ask you one. We'll just go around. Let's ask him 4 or 5 questions,
Okay.
and we're gonna let him get out of here because he's got stuff to do. Who's gonna hit the most home runs this year for the Wolfpack?
Most home runs this year for the Pack. I'm gonna say Sosa, Alex Sosa.
A lot of suspense.
We have froze the.
Can you hear me?
We have lost Butters
Oh,
again.
no.
Oh,
Oh, you
No way.
you spent a lot of time
Can you
on
guys hear me?
there. Oh, in and out. Cal, you gonna be able
internet.
to edit all this out?
No.
Am I back?
You
One other
can. You can figure it out.
Hey, one other thing, and so Wesley doesn't ask me another personal question. One other thing we can bring up
Well, surely
is,
this isn't going to be recorded to the
Oh,
masses.
it's gonna be
oh yeah,
recorded.
yeah.
Oh, he's back.
We're in a hotel right now, and this Wi-Fi is brutal.
All right,
Oh,
one
dude.
question apiece,
Hey.
and we're letting you go. Who's hitting the most home runs for the Wolfpack this year?
I'm gonna say Alex Sosa.
All right, Adam, go.
All right. Who's one player that you think that's on the team this year that you're looking forward to having a real breakout year?
Drew Lamphere, 100%.
Pitching
That's
or
the
hitting?
hardest worker I know. Drew Lamphere?
Drew Lamphere, 2 weeks in a row. Wesley?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many more years do you think Avent's got?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna say I want him to go to Omaha one more time, and I think he's thinking the same thing. It's either I think it's either go to Omaha one more time or sweep Carolina. I think
Maybe he can get that
if he sweeps
ACC
Carolina
championship.
this year, yeah, very true. But I think if he sweeps Carolina this year, he might see you guys.
Oh, well, maybe he won't sweep Carolina this year.
Hey, we gotta. There's a. Cal mentioned it this week, Butters. There's a lot of pressure on us right now as a media outlet to bring more Pac-9 content, given that we are the lifeblood. I say we like we mean anything, but the Pac-9 is the lifeblood of Wolfpack Nation right now. So it's
Oh,
important that we
I've heard.
help keep creating this content.
We just need some.
I think
Just
y'all
need some
should.
positivity.
That's all it needs.
Yeah, and I think you only
Especially
got
after
about
seeing
4,200
football
more
and basketball.
You only got Butters, you only got about 4,200 more followers than us, so give us a few retweets.
I will. I got you guys.
I wanted to ask you too. I wanted to ask you one thing. So when you got drafted by the Padres, you weren't slipping on Butter anymore. Like, was that just a pro move?
No, well, I've always been slipping on butter on Twitter, and that's still slipping on butter to this day. But my Instagram has always been like Brandon B, because the funny thing is I tried to take slipping on butter and somebody has it. Don't know who has slipping on butter, but I need to find out who does.
Amen. Hey, appreciate you coming on. Wish you the
Thank
very
you.
best of luck out in Arizona. I know we fought through some technical difficulties, but great guest. And I don't think we're going to probably see you around at the Doak since you're already out in Arizona. But, man, wish you the very best. And thank you for everything you did for Wolfpack Nation, buddy. We'll remember you
I
for
appreciate
a
that.
long
I
time.
appreciate you guys a lot.
Good luck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, man. Thanks.
Yep. See you guys.
Go Pack.
Go Pat. Yes, sir.
Uh-oh.